This block in downtown Beijing was designed to project a modern image of China. Surrounded by cafes, shops and offices, a two-bedroom apartment here once cost upwards of $1 million. But in recent years, prices have dropped.
We haven't made much profit these past 3 years. There are more new houses, and many people think there will be more customers. But that isn't the case. The reality is, the vacancy rate is relatively high, and the sale rate is low. Everyone is waiting and watching.
The Chinese government says property prices will recover this year, but Jin Dongli isn't convinced. He says the sector suffered because of the pandemic, but that hasn't been the only problem. In 2021, Beijing cracked down on debt-ridden real estate developers with the aim of preventing a market bubble. The measures sparked a liquidity crisis, which left many buildings unfinished and thousands of buyers in the lurch. Authorities are now scrambling to prop up the industry, which contributes about a quarter of China's GDP.
The government's intention was to bring down the leverage, not to kill the market. Since the measures were taken in such a hasty manner and it was so strict, then the market was in the worst recession since 1990s. And in addition to that, there was COVID restriction. So the overall sentiment over the market was just become way more pessimistic than the government intended to see.
In December, Beijing ended almost 3 years of harsh zero-COVID policies. It also eased lending restrictions for property developers, lowered mortgage rates, and ended housing ownership caps in some cities. But consumer confidence remains low.
In big cities like Beijing, the cost of an apartment is typically much more than one young person can afford. So parents and often even grandparents pool their entire life savings to help buy one. But in recent years, many families have held off, choosing instead to keep their money in the bank.
Analysts expect property prices to stop declining this year, but say it may take years for the sector to fully recover. For Jin Dongli, the big challenge is reversing people's mindsets. He says many believe investing in property just isn't as profitable as it used to be. Katrina, Jazeera, Beijing.